Rice TVX, the mic's live wire. American Pitbull, real gold buyer. Sound money advocate, rights defender. In the crypto arena, he's the top contender. From the gritty streets of the digital age, Rice lays wisdom, chapter and page. Silver, gold, he stores only the bold. Land, life, and liberty, these values hold. Constitution, deep dive, knowledge revival. Navigate the system, critical for survival. Rice engraved like inscriptions on metal. Pitbull in the game, lead foot on the pedal. Land acquirer, a strategic mind. In the fight for freedom, he's frontline. Educator on rights, the law he'll explain. Chris Rice, the Pitbull, breaking the chain.
We are live. Thank you for joining us. Starting in just moments. Smash that like button if you're watching on X. Repost.
In the arena where truths collide. Rice TVX, the certified guide. Silver and gold, land and rights. American Pitbull in the freedom fights. In a world of chaos, he's the calm in the storm. Teaching the masses, ready to inform. Keys to crypto, rights we cherish. His wisdom lights paths that others perish. Guardian of wealth, from digital to ancient. His legacy crafted, fearless and patient.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for tuning in. We are live streaming currently on Rice TVX on my YouTube, my Rumble, and my X account. We are also live streaming on Aaron Day's X account and Rumble. I have links down below for his socials in the video description. You will also find a link for the playlist that includes Aaron's first 2 appearances on the show. Again, make sure you take an opportunity to smash that like button. Something else I want to let you guys know, make sure you're taking advantage of my partnership with My Patriot Supply. Check out prepwithrice.com and get your emergency food supplies. I'm encouraging you to do this because there's so much stuff that's right amongst the pipeline that's happening. Tonight, we had the crazy debate, and that's going to lead into so much more. The closer we get to elections, I think the more turmoil we're going to be experiencing. So definitely check out prepwithrice.com so that you can get your emergency food kits. There's 4-week kits. There's 90-day kits. It's a way to support the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. And again, links are down below. prepwithrice.com. Make sure you're checking out that playlist that I got linked down below for the videos that I have with Mr. Aaron R. Day. That's who I am joined by today. I am joined by Mr. Aaron R. Day. And in honor of Aaron, this is for you.
Aaron, where are you? Where is Aaron right now? No Aaron, huh? Well, you better be sick, dead, or mute, Aaron.
Here.
Oh, man. Why didn't you answer me the first time I said it, huh?
Huh?
I'm just asking, I said it like 4 times, so why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
Son of a bitch! You done messed up, Aaron!
You done messed up, Aaron. I saw that the other night and thought about you. And that kid actually might look like a little bit of a younger version of you.
Well, there you go.
Have you ever seen that before?
I have seen that before.
Okay. I figured you might have, but I just had to throw it out there. So again, man, appreciate you joining me today. How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me on again.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to the conversation. I like the fact that we're kind of breaking down the conversations for specific topics so that we're not kind of all over the place. I've had that a lot of times in the past, and it gets a lot of things I feel like get lost, and it's easier when we're focusing. So the first episode that you and I did was more of an introduction, who you are, your book, and things to that effect, your articles. and the second episode, which we did last Friday, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, not long ago. Yeah, last Friday. We had talked about central bank digital currencies, and that kind of goes more into your book and also the articles that you had written. You had just put one out right before we released that that we did that live stream on Friday. So I encourage people to check those out who might be new to the content with Mr. Aaron Day. And again, we got links down below for specifically his socials. Make sure you're following him over on X at Aaron R. Day. There is an Aaron Day, so make sure you're following at Aaron R. Day, link down below. You can check out his website, daylightfreedom.org. His Rumble channel, which he's currently live streaming on right now. Make sure you subscribe. That's linked down below, as well as the Aaron Day Show over on the YouTube side. And I will have a link for his book, The Final Countdown, Crypto, Gold, Silver, and the People's Last Stand Against Tyranny by Central Bank Digital Currencies. So what's new in your world since we talked last?
It's just more focus on privacy. Clearly, there's more of a need for privacy now than ever before. That becomes more apparent every day. Some exciting things going on with Zano, and I don't know. This election is a big distraction. I don't even know what to make of it at this point. I don't know what the outcome matters one way or the other, but people are certainly going to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's by design for sure. You made an appearance on a live stream yesterday. I saw on the X.
Yeah, I did a live stream yesterday, and I've got to actually have another one tonight. So it's
same dude or someone else?
No, someone else. Weaponized News is on tonight, and then I actually have I have events that I'm speaking at or workshops for the next 5 weekends straight. So
you look like you need a little sleep.
I do need a little sleep, actually. That is true.
I can see that after talking with you a couple of times. I don't mean that negatively. I think a lot of us as content creators, researchers, we get into these routines where sometimes we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah, no, yeah. I I practically pulled 2 all-nighters last week. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So anyway.
I did. I'm 49. I can't do that shit no more. So more power to you if you're doing it. The other thing I was going to mention is this, because I know you just said the next 5 weekends you're booked up, but this weekend you're doing something with Dr. Chris Martenson with Peak Prosperity, and Lynette Zhang, you said, is going to be appearing. You want to share anything about that?
Yeah, no, he is. It's called the Great Reset. It's his big annual event. He does an event every year, and there are going to be a couple hundred people there. It's on a campground, and it's like 3 days of talks and workshops and in a nice outdoor setting. So I'm looking forward to that. And my part of this is going to be, I'm going to do kind of a mini version of my workshop. So I'm actually going to onboard people, hoping the internet access works properly. I'm going to onboard people to crypto and gold, and actually show them how to use these different assets as an alternative to CBDCs and the surveillance dollar that we already have. So it's going to be an interesting setup for sure.
Cool. Well, let me know how that goes. I definitely got to get in touch with Lynette Zhang. I need to plan a trip to go and visit her out in Arizona. She's been wanting me to come see her and check out her bug out spot and check out what she's got going on, do like an in-person interview. So, and I definitely would like to meet Chris Martenson. So if you could put in a good word for me, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll do.
What was I going to say? Okay. So, today we had talked about, kind of the way we led off with the show from Friday was focusing more on solutions. So the problem, in a nutshell, the debt-based slave system that's continuously morphing into this total surveillance state via central bank digital currencies, digital IDs, social credit, etc. The solution, using things like agorism, counter economics. Counter economics is a part of agorism. So I encourage people to check out the interview that I did with Sal the Agorist. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yep.
Great dude, great interview. So you guys can get a better understanding about agorism. And
I think I'm on a panel with him in Argentina next month. So
very cool. Small world.
Yeah.
And so using counter economics would be like, if we think about counter economics for a freedom movement to get away from this debt-based slave system, then we need to use alternative currencies. And that would not include the US dollar or anything related to the US dollar or other fiat currencies. It would be using something other than, and that could include regular cryptocurrencies. You came to the conclusion that we need to be using more privacy-based cryptocurrencies to take back our privacy, to take away that surveillance opportunity that's given. We also have precious metals, barterabilities or bartering items and things to that effect. Toilet paper we have found to be a very valuable commodity as well. I was actually doing a little search on the internet trying to find a good article for this and didn't find the article that I was wanting, but it was pre-searches AI when I was searching for private cryptocurrencies, kind of getting a good explanation to kind of explain to people. Because sometimes I get too wrapped up in the technology. It's hard for me to break things down simple, other than a more encrypted cryptocurrency that allows for you to have transactions sent and received anonymously. So private crypto, and this is from the AI, private cryptocurrencies, also known as privacy coins, are digital currencies that use advanced cryptography techniques to protect users' identities and keep transactions confidential. Privacy coins are designed to address concerns about how personal data is used by governments and enterprises. They work by hiding the identities of the sender and receiver, as well as the transaction amount and the wallet address. They mentioned some of the popular cryptocurrency coins like Monero, using stealth addresses and ring signatures to hide the identities of senders and receivers, and Zcash using zero-knowledge proofs to shield transactions. Say privacy coins work similarly to physical cash, but within a digital ecosystem. They run on blockchains, which are decentralized ledgers and are maintained by a network of anonymous validators. The government is concerned that the secrecy of private cryptocurrencies could encourage money laundering or illegal transactions. What do you think about that description there, of just a basic description for people for privacy-based crypto coins?
I mean, I think it's a good summary. I think obviously I would challenge the. I mean, of course, the government
AI,
actually.
I thought it was nice, except for the end where they're adding in the little biasness.
That was the part that I was going to talk about. I mean, obviously, the people engaged in money laundering are the government, and so that's clearly an issue. And but yeah, no, that's a reasonable explanation. And again, I think that one of the big things that people are just now learning about is very simply that that Bitcoin and Ethereum and these other cryptocurrencies are not encrypted. They're not private. And that's turned into an issue. So now you have the government using chain analysis and AI, and they can basically track everybody's transactions. And they're doing this. I mean, like in the case of Roger, they're going after Roger for stuff from 10 years ago. They've gone after, this is how in part they got Ross. This is how the government ended up with 200,000 Bitcoin. They didn't buy it. They were able to trace it. And, the problem with this is, and, the AI description of this is that the government wants to make this all about privacy is for money laundering and drug dealing and terrorism. But we have privacy by default. I mean, we have a Fourth Amendment, but on top of that, I mean, when did we have this shift in society where we assume surveillance of our financial transactions? It was never like that when I was growing up. In fact, I'm writing an article about this, and I'm actually trying to pinpoint when did we even have this shift? Because this idea that all of our financial transactions should be surveilled is brand new, in my opinion, and it's getting off the rails. But at what we talked about last week is, and again, my assertion is that we already have a central bank digital currency. It's just a matter of the levels of tyranny. But we know what the end goal in this. The end goal is a single global currency backed by energy credits tied to a social credit score that looks something like the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So that's the final end of tyranny. And everything between here and there is just an incremental step. So the crackdown on crypto, and I would argue even the push by politicians like Cynthia Lummis for Bitcoin in particular, is because they want only transparency coins, and they want to start regulating and shutting everything else out of business so that there's no competition for their enhanced layers of tyranny to our existing digital currency. So that's what I think this is all about, which to me now means that privacy is essential. and I wasn't saying this 90 days ago. In fact, as I'm working on my new workshop, I mean, I'm actually completely reworking my workshop because I have completely different tools that I'm recommending and that I even use myself. I mean, I've moved out of transparent blockchains altogether. I'm entirely now in privacy coins and gold and silver and gold backs. That's, so just because we know where they're headed, and now the IRS is going to require that we report our self-custody crypto holdings. And in addition to the CBDCs they're rolling out, they're actually building this platform called Regulated Liability Network. They're going to require us to register our digital assets on a ledger that's tied to CBDCs. So privacy is key, and the sooner you get out of transparent systems and into private systems, the better you will be.
No, I completely 100% agree, man. While you were talking, it also made me think about something that I had saw back in 2020, and I'm going to try to copy this article real quick and paste it over in the other browser and share it, because we've seen this crackdown happen with Mimblewimble, not Mimblewimble. I don't even know why I just said Mimblewimble, but we've seen this crackdown happen recently with Tornado Cash developers, Samurai, which is an attack on what you would call mixers or shufflers that are trying to add fungibility for people so that the token history doesn't necessarily reflect upon them individually, whether or not you want to obfuscate or whatever the case might be. They're coming after these developers. All these people are talking about code as speech. You're seeing a lot of delisting of, and it's been a continual delisting of privacy coins on exchanges, major centralized exchanges. I'm not sure if you heard about this, and I'm not sure what's come out of this, but this is back in 2020. And this is September. You want to hear the ironic thing about this? This is September 10th, 2020. You know what today's date is?
September 10th. There you
How
go.
fucking weird is that, man?
Yep.
The IRS is offering you $625,000 to crack Monero. Now, my theory when I saw this originally was that if they're going to be offering a bounty to crack the encryption of Monero, it makes me think that they've already cracked it and they're just trying to find someone to put the congratulations on so that it doesn't look like the government is over here hiring people to break the encryption of these privacy-based coins. And then not too long after this, there was an arrest warrant put out for something unrelated to cryptocurrency for Ricardo Spagni, who was the lead maintainer of Monero. Fluffy Pony.
Yep. Well, so it's interesting about that. I actually put out a tweet and I said, what's this contention between Zcash and Monero? And it turned into a long thread where the main guy behind Zcash was there, Fluffy Pony was there, and it turned into this really long debate. And the reason that I bring it up is that whether there is or isn't, one of the things that I like about the privacy space is there's ongoing innovation. So this is something that's going on with all of these projects, Zcash and Zano and Monero. They're all developing new technology, and they're all constantly looking for ways to upgrade the security. So I don't know whether they cracked it or not. I mean, I saw this video that came out yesterday for a brief blip claiming that there might be some way to track it. But then as I dug into it and I saw other people's commentary of it, it seems almost more like an advertisement for Monero if you actually dig into it. And I mean, you actually had some of the people from Chain Analysis saying, hey, this is like the gold standard of privacy. And Monero right now is going through a process of even upgrading their security model further. So the way that I look at this is an ongoing war.
And it's constantly going to be constantly changing encryptions to make it more and more robust.
And so that's actually what I like about it. I really appreciate the fact that these communities are like hardcore innovating and working on new stuff. That to me is actually, I mean, that's the market at work. And again, all of these privacy projects are working on new things. And so,
are you still seeing the same kind of like tribalism and maximalism per the coins in the privacy space? Or are you seeing more innovation where some of these projects are actually working together? Like, what was the contention between the Zcash and Monero communities?
So I actually think that some of it seemed to be around personalities. There seemed to be some issues around Fluffy Pony's there were personality issues in the past related to some of the behavior from people in Monero. And I think it's subsided a little bit. There are some people that still hold a grudge about that, but I actually think that the takeaway, some of the like Luke Parker, who's like the big guy, a big developer now in Monero and everything else, they seem to have a very cordial conversation. And the guy from Zcash seems very reasonable. Zuku seems just very calm and reasoned in his response. I mean, I wouldn't say that there was necessarily a kumbaya moment, but I did see in the thread that there was a lot more interesting stuff. But, some interesting things came out to me. I guess Joel Valenzuela a few years ago had written something about Monero, and there was a death threat against him, or somebody was trying to arrange a hit against him. And that even shocked me, because
I didn't know about that.
I mean, there's like the idea that somebody would go after anyone, but let alone Joel with violence is absurd. But again, that stuff is in the past. Clearly that's horrible behavior, but I think both communities are in a different place now. And I will tell you, actually, I hope you can go to this thing in Mexico, because the Zano people are very close with the Monero people, because the founders of Zano actually developed some of the crypto note technology behind Monero. And so there's actually a good dynamic between those communities. And so it's not a competitive dynamic there at all. And I know some other privacy projects are going to be at that event. And part of what I want to talk about at that event is
the Monerotopia event
at Monerotopia. Yeah, sorry, is how we need to market privacy. I mean, I put out the meme, which make privacy great again, but everybody should be concerned about privacy. This isn't just a dark market thing, because everything that people are used to buying today, you will be in a dark market tomorrow if you're not today, right? Whether it's organic milk, or buying meat, or using a natural gas stove. The plans that they have laid out for us for technocracy involves removing our ability to have choice, whether it's educational choice, around everything. So multiple groups should already be very interested in privacy, and this is something that ultimately should be mainstream. This isn't a niche product. I mean, we should have privacy by default. Privacy should be a right, a foundational right, and we need to counteract the marketing, which is the incessant marketing by politicians on both sides, that if you want privacy, it must mean you are doing violent. In fact, it's not even just illegal things. You must be doing violent things and abhorrent things. That's always the way that they try to couch this. And so I think we need to just change the narrative. And from my perspective, as I'm talking about solutions to CBDCs, there is no single coin that is the solution. I mean, the CBDC pilot that they're working on in the US can do 1.8 million transactions per second. We don't have a single coin that could onboard a large number of people in an emergency. So we are going to have to work together, precious metals and crypto, and actually working together with easy to use tools for the consumer and for the merchant that allow for multiple assets. And I think if we can get aligned on that, then we can get out of the tribalism and start focusing on where the real issue is, which is technocracy. That's the enemy here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. And I mean, for people that want to kind of like get an idea of like how they can track you easily without even like using chain analysis, is you have a Coinbase account, you buy Bitcoin, you take that Bitcoin, you send it to another wallet that you possess your private key to, whether it's a hardware wallet or not, a Ledger, Trust wallet, Cake wallet, whatever it is. Once you send it from a centralized entity, a centralized exchange, a centralized service that you bought it, then in a sense, they know either you're sending it to someone else or you're sending it to yourself. And you already have kind of, by being on a centralized entity, you're with the KYC AML, you've already been identified for owning it. Same thing goes for privacy coins. So if you're able to find an exchange that has privacy coins, like I'm not sure if Gemini still has Zcash or not. I haven't looked, but they used to have Zcash. And if you were in Gemini, you had to use KYC AML to be able to use the platform. So if you were to buy something like, or trade for something like Zcash and then send it to another wallet that you have the private keys to, it's like you've already identified that you own these things. And I'm not sure, and that may help with their chain analysis. So you got to be careful about where you're sending and receiving cryptocurrency from, because like Aaron was saying, when you're like something with like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, something to this effect, you're going to be dealing with, in most of your cryptocurrencies that have open, transparent blockchains, is you can see everything that's happening. So just a matter of figuring it out. That's where we had talked in previous shows about how a lot of early Bitcoiners thought that Bitcoin itself was anonymous because it was new technology and people didn't fully understand. But as the space has matured, we understand it's not anonymous, it's pseudo-anonymous, and it's really easy to figure it out, especially if like down below in my video description, I've got a Bitcoin address. Like you can send a contribution or tip to this Bitcoin address. I've already identified this is my Bitcoin address, IRS, right here. This is mine.
Yeah, no, that's exactly true. And by the way, Coinbase now works with the IRS and using AI to analyze these transactions. So you're exactly right. Whatever you pull off of Coinbase is going to be tracked, which is why I recommend. I mean, it's still. I don't know if Gemini has Zcash or not, but I have no hope that any of the large exchanges in the U.S. are going to add any privacy coins back anytime soon, because there are no politicians advocating for it on either side of the aisle. But it's okay, because you can use either, you can use something like Cake Wallet to buy in small.
It's still on there. So and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when I talked about Zcash in the past, I've and because it's on like Gemini, I question whether or not it's actual privacy. And is Zcash private by default, or do you have to do something to make it private? The transaction private.
You have to do something to make it private. So Zcash is not privacy by default.
Where Monero is private by default.
Zano and Monero are both privacy by default.
We're going to talk about Zano, I promise you. I'm just like, I know most people are familiar with Monero and Zcash as the two bigger, well-known privacy cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and so Bitcoin Cash can be optionally private as well, using something called Cash Fusion. Litecoin can be made private using. Okay,
we're going too fast. Okay, I did want to talk about Cash Fusion. I interviewed. I'm drawing a blank of his name. The coder developer that created the Mimblewimble extension MWeb on Litecoin. I interviewed him, so I've got an understanding of. It's basically a shuffler's sidechain, mixer sidechain, basically. And a lot of times, if you're using the MWeb extension with Litecoin, some exchange, well, it's identified as having something different done than just a normal on-chain Litecoin. So it's like some way of identifying that the fact that it's had something done to it. I don't know if it has something to do with the Mimblewimble address, if it's in the block information. This is something I'm not really super familiar with, but I heard about it. I heard about the fact that Bitcoin Cash is offering Coin Fusion. Can you explain what Coin Fusion is?
I think it's somewhat of a mixing service as well, and there are some issues with that, right? So obviously, as we're seeing with Tornado Cash and everything else, I mean, this is one of the downsides of not being private by default. But there is something that I mentioned to you as this started, called confidential layers, which is going to allow for Bitcoin Cash, I believe, Ethereum, and Bitcoin to bridge into Zano. So that is a new way to add privacy to those coins. So I think that's an exciting development as well.
Now, real quick, is this because I've heard a little bit about it? Can you do something with the Cash Fusion inside the Bitcoin.com wallet? I haven't utilized it. That's why I'm asking you.
To be honest, I haven't utilized it either.
Okay. And the other reason I'm asking all this is because in one of my interviews with Roger that I did back in the day, because I did 3 total interviews with him, which he reposted on the Bitcoin.com YouTube channel. And one of them, I believe it might have been the second or third, but I think it was the second. We were talking about some of the developments for Bitcoin Cash, and one of the things he was talking about was having a built-in mixer slash shuffler in the wallet that just would have done it automatically on the back end. And then I never heard anything about it, but I figured it kind of was, if they did it, it was going to get removed from a bunch of different app stores and not really be available for inconveniently downloadable. So I don't think they ended up fully going through with it. So it made me wonder when I heard about Cash Fusion if that was what they were intending to do. And now they're just making it an optional service.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if it's built in or not.
Well, I'm sure it's not automatic because I mean, yeah, if you I don't think it even is built in because Samurai Wallet they don't have their mixer shuffler anymore. So I think any wallet is going to have that built in and add it to be even that much more convenient. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to have issues. Okay, so what is it about aside from the fact that and I know Roger has a lot of weight in the space because he's been around for so long?
Well, so I think Electron Cash Wallet is where it is available. By the way, Cash Fusion.
Electron.
I'm
pretty sure it's available on the Bitcoin.com wallet, though. Yeah, I mean, if anybody is watching this knows, I would definitely like to know. And at this time, we have over 300 people watching, so I would greatly appreciate if you guys would take an opportunity, if you have not already, to smash that like button. We got a lot of people watching over on X. There's 127 people on your side, 161 on my side. Reposts help bring eyes to these videos. It'd be greatly appreciated if you like these videos and repost over on the X. Got to get those formalities out of the way. But what is it about Zano and specifically, and I do want to talk about some other privacy coins and then take the conversation over to some of these other things like gold backs, precious metals, things to that effect. But what about Zano? Have you done a truly deep dive into what Zano is and all of its complexities?
Yes, I've done a deep dive into it, and in part because when I exited political activism, I focused on tokenization because, and we talked about this a bit last week. So cryptocurrencies are just tokenized money, but money only represents 5% of global assets. Non-monetary assets represent the rest, the other 95%. And everything is going to be tokenized. So whether it's stocks, bonds, your house, your car, your computer, devices, everything is going to be tokenized moving forward because that's the next kind of evolution of the database. And so you really have this, everybody's focused on the currency side of this thing. Everybody's focused on competing around the 5%. Nobody's addressing the tokenization side. Meanwhile, the same people that are rolling out CBDCs are very focused on tokenization, and they want the same properties for asset tokenization that CBDCs have. So they want trackable, programmable, confiscatable assets, all of your assets. This is how you'll own nothing and be happy. So I've spent years, since 2019 working on tokenizing assets because just as in theory, Bitcoin was supposed to do for money by, decentralizing money. The other 95% was still widely available. And so that's where I actually focused all of my effort. And I actually spent most of my time working on Ravencoin. So I've tokenized and traded any of a number of things: silver, art, wine, all kinds of things. I've traded using Ravencoin, and Ravencoin is a fork of Bitcoin. So it basically, you can create tokens without smart contracts natively using Ravencoin, and then you can trade them anywhere in the world without, censorship. It's censorship resistant. It has all of the elements of Bitcoin, but of course it also has all of the transparency and all of the trackability. So when Roger introduced this to me, this is actually the evolution of my thinking in what I've been focusing on anyway. Just as we have a problem now with using Bitcoin and using Ethereum, given the threat that we have with the push for CBDCs, we also have the threat of the great taking, which I know we're going to talk about on another episode. But this idea behind the great taking is they've already figured out a way to change the contractual rights and responsibilities. So we don't own our stocks, our bonds, and our 401ks. And that's happened through a whole series of legal changes since 1994 to what's called the Uniform Commercial Code. But where this gets scary is when they then tokenize our stocks and bonds and put them on a CBDC style ledger. That's when there's a financial collapse. And all of a sudden, with the click of a mouse button, we lose all of our non-monetary assets. So what appealed to me about Zano is it basically has the privacy model of Monero, but allows you to create your own private tokens using that same security and same privacy. So that's why, like, this is profound. That's why it's so profoundly exciting to me, is because I'm already kind of tuned in. And then actually, I've really only in the last 6 months become truly aware after doing the deep dive about how real this great taking threat is. So once the two of those clicked, I was like, wow, okay, this is like the answer to a whole bunch of problems. Because I will tell you, and I still like Ravencoin. I think that Ravencoin and Zano could work well together, but I think part of the idea behind Ravencoin was, oh, hey, you have all this corruption on Wall Street, you have naked short selling, you have all the stuff that happened with GameStop and all the stuff that happened with AMC. With naked short selling and these hedge funds acting this way. What a great opportunity to introduce, a transparent ledger with tokens built on a Bitcoin type of infrastructure to solve this Wall Street corruption. Well, it turns out Wall Street has no interest in this.
No,
there's no interest. They don't want they want transparency as much as the Federal Reserve wants transparency and as much as commercial banks want transparency. So now where does that leave us, people that are actually interested in freedom and voluntary exchange? We need a solution so that we can actually tokenize and trade our own assets privately outside of the system. And that is, to me, what Zano represents. When Roger first introduced it to me, I looked at it, I'm like, and I saw it was like proof of work, proof of stake, and I had some mental kind of blocks. It's one of those things where, people spent so much time comparing everything to Bitcoin. If it doesn't have every single element, oh, you raised money, that must be bad. Or if it has to be proof of work, or it's not truly decentralized. And so I kind of had an adverse reaction to it at first. And then I actually dug into it and read the white paper and looked at how it works. And now I actually am like, wow, okay, the hybrid proof of work, proof of stake model is actually a better model, because you get more security, and they actually innovated even on proof of stake. So the issue with proof of stake, if you have just a proof of stake model where, like with Ethereum, you have to have a certain amount of Ethereum to even be able to stake. So it becomes almost like an oligarchical structure out of the gates. In which case, it's like, how is that any different than the Federal Reserve itself? And then on top of that, the nodes, the people that are kind of controlling these things, who they are, because it's a transparent system, which means that the folks that are controlling the nodes could be manipulated or infiltrated by government or other bad actors. Zano's implemented this hybrid structure where it's part proof of work and then part proof of stake, but they actually keep it private and confidential who actually is doing the staking. So you can't actually see how many coins somebody has or who's actually doing the individual staking. And the way that it works is the proof of stake is done probabilistically. So there is no minimum. You don't have to have 100,000 Zano. If you have one Zano, you can actually stake, and the rewards are distributed probabilistically. So that was my big hurdle, actually, was that. And then after now understanding it, I'm like, wow, okay. So then I used it. So it was not just a matter of doing the deep dive. And the thing is, Zano's been around since 2019, but it even started longer than that. I mean, I think they've actually been working on this technology, you could argue, for 10 years. But they're just now rolling out kind of the consumer-friendly features. So this has been all building the infrastructure behind this thing. And so even when I first started playing with it in May, it was like, well, this was an early version of the wallet that you were just able to start creating tokens. And so, but having tokenized and traded assets on Ravencoin, there was actually something magical about being able to create a privacy token for like 6 cents, right? And I want you to put this in perspective. what it takes to create a token on Ethereum. If you are going to actually do a smart contract and you're going to go through and have it audited, and then you're going to have all of the, risks associated with all of that and how much time that takes. And in literally a minute, for 6 cents, I created a private token. I think the first one I created was free Assange, and then the second one I created was free Ross. And then I was able to, you can trade that with people without any third parties, and you can even swap tokens within the wallet. So I could trade you my Assange token for your free Ross token from within the wallet without any third party. That is actually,
it's all tokens made on that. It's got to be on that blockchain though, right?
It's all on that blockchain, but the ability to do that without any exchange or any third party and without anybody knowing about it.
That's powerful.
So what that clicks off to me is, okay, we're facing a threat where people want to tokenize and control all of our money. They want to tokenize and control all of our assets. This thing is not only a privacy coin, but it's something that allows me to trade any asset of any size anywhere in the world without third parties confidentially. I mean, it's an international private barter system. So so to me, this is the reason that I'm so excited about it, is that it solves multiple problems. It's addressing the 100% of assets, not just the 5% of assets. And then as you dig more into it, it's like, wow, they've actually like solved a lot of interesting problems. So again, the proof of stake problem, they're working on they had it and then they upgraded it, and so now they're going to rebuild it again. But there's an escrow system. So if you're dealing with somebody you don't know, let's say I want to sell you a baseball card. I put $50 or $50 worth of Zano in escrow. You put $50 worth of Zano in escrow. It kind of works on a mutually assured destruction model, and it's up to us to work out the transaction. But the escrow is a system that does that without any third parties in between. So I look at this as being incredibly powerful. But then on top of that, there's what they announced today, confidential layers, which is the ability to bridge your transparent coins. And I think they're starting off with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin Cash. You'll be able to bridge into Zano. So you could take one Bitcoin, bridge it into Zano, do all of your transactions into Zano, and all of those transactions are confidential. No one knows what those are. And then if you need to bridge back out, let's say you bridge one BTC in, you do a bunch of transactions with half a BTC, and then you want to take the other half out, then you can take the other half out, you can bridge out. But the other half of BTC's worth of transactions now have all been used in a completely private and confidential manner. So this is a huge, and that's one example. So basically, Zano can make all assets private. So you can tokenize gold. One of the first things that I did was I tokenized a gold back and then actually sold it to somebody using, they have an exchange. I think it's trade.zano.com. So somebody I didn't know, I just posted it and they bought the token. Now, in this case, I needed to then communicate with them to get their address to actually ship it to them. But
because were you having them redeem the token to get the gold back, or was it just you get the gold back with the token? I wasn't sure how you did that.
Well, in this particular instance, this is just me testing it early, right? So the one thing that you'll find about me is whatever new thing that they're going to put out, I'm going to test it early. So this isn't like the ultimate use case. I will explain where I wanted to go, but why I was doing this, just for the novelty of it, is because goldbacks actually have a serial number on them. So I actually tokenized a specific goldback, put it up there, and then I knew who the person was who bought it in this particular instance. But there's a messaging. Yeah, there you go. There's a messaging field. You can put a message in the transaction, so you can actually communicate in an encrypted way through the notes field, basically, to share information. And then there are other things that you can do with that. I actually decided, and again, this wasn't necessarily the use case, but to make an NFT out of this. So what I did was I actually took an image of this, put it out on IPFS, and then I put the IPFS hash into the description so that, in essence, I created the first NFT on Zano. And so there are a lot of things that you can do with IPFS and Zano and everything else. And so, but I'm talking to the people at Alpine about the idea of having them tokenize goldbacks using Zano
Who's
because
that?
Hmm?
Who?
Alpine,
Alpine.
the people behind Goldbacks.
Is that the name of the company behind Goldbacks?
Yeah.
Okay. I know we're gonna have, like, I definitely want to get to Goldbacks specifically. So if you don't mind, let's keep it on track with the privacy coins. With Zeno, is that one of the someone involved with Monero? Was that the creator of Zano?
Yeah, somebody who was involved with developing the crypto note, the technology behind Monero. So the dev team is incredible, and so that's one of the things that drew me to it as well. It's got a really smart core team of devs that have been working together for a long time, and that's important. There's so many things about, you look at Bitcoin. There are things that people have been holding out about Bitcoin that they think make it this great thing that have turned out to be liabilities and not assets, right? I mean, I think the whole idea of, well, it didn't do a fundraise, and so that, yeah, now you have a bunch of open source developers that are getting funding from somewhere, and that funding has influenced the direction of it and everything else. And so this is a project where the core teams work together for a long time, and to me, that's actually incredibly important.
This is really cool because, like, I want to highlight just this portion of the description of the X account for Zano. It gave me a grok option, and it pulled up, like, telling me about the creator of the original crypto note code base in 1 or 2 sentences. The original crypto note code base, which introduced significant privacy features to cryptocurrencies, was created by an individual using the pseudonym Nicholas Van Saberhagen. The true identity of Nicholas Van Saberhagen remains unknown, adding an air to the mystery to the origins of crypto note, which later inspired cryptocurrencies like Monero. So it was a precursor to Monero. Very interesting.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, if you want to talk about people who understand encryption and understand privacy, it doesn't get much better than this. So, like, these are OGs working on this project, and they're very committed to it. So it's and they've been great to actually interact with on stuff. So that's why I'm excited about it. So yeah, Roger bringing it up. If Roger is going to mention something, it's like, hey, you should take a look at this. Certainly, I'm going to take a look at it, but I'm going to be very critical, and I'm going to do my own research on this. But it turns out that
because he liked Ripple, so it's not like he's got a winning track record. He was one of the earliest investors in Ripple.
Well, he was, but I mean, even that. So,
but business is business. I get it, and he was one of the biggest investors, angel investors, seed investors in crypto. That's why a lot of people, not only with the fact that he was giving a lot of Bitcoin away to people, but just doing everything he could to help this space expand more and more. So.
Well, no, but here's the thing about Roger. So the thing that I like about Roger, because he's who introduced me to Bitcoin, is he has been very consistent about what he's looking. He wants peer-to-peer digital cash for the world that will help spread freedom. That is the underlying thesis. There are a lot of different ways to do that in a lot of investments. And so even when he invested in Ripple, by the way, which it was before the kind of, what I'll say, the lizards got involved, right? Like because the guy that he invested in is not the guy that is not running it. He went off to go form, what was it, Stellar Lumens or whatever. So I think the thesis at the time when he was looking at Ripple is, well, hey, maybe this is a more energy efficient way of creating peer-to-peer digital cash. I think it was that simple. I don't think he was. I've never talked to him about it, but I don't hear.
Yeah, that's one thing I've never. I don't hold it against him, but yeah, it may have been before the lizard people got involved, before it started getting become a partner of the World Economic Forum and all that beautiful shite. Something that I also found interesting when I was doing just a little bit of digging for some stuff for the video, there's a top privacy token list by market capitalization from CoinMarketCap. And when I was also doing a lot of things, I kept seeing Dash being listed as if it was a privacy coin. I didn't know that. I guess it uses an aspect of CoinJoin. I'm not sure if that's optional or how that works, but I didn't see it on this list. But something that I found to be very interesting on this list is WorldCoin.
Yeah.
How is this listed as a privacy coin? Like, I had to do a little bit of because I'm just curious about what the encryption and how it's, because I would think of this as being more centralized.
Yeah, so would I. I actually commented on a post that they made yesterday.
Can like, is it even possible to have a centralized entity with a privacy-based coin?
I don't think
on a
so.
centralized. Can you have a private coin, anonymous coin on a centralized blockchain? I guess is what I'm saying. Is that possible? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like an oxymoron.
No, I think it's an oxymoron, and I actually was commented on that yesterday. I mean, I on their own WorldCoin post, I put a picture of, because they have this orb where it like takes, you know, a retinal scan or whatever. I think that to call WorldCoin a privacy coin is I think an error. I don't see how you could.
And
how you could
Zano's
possibly
way
do
down
it.
here too. And I've never even heard of a lot of these. I remember Pivx. I remember them. Pirate Chain kind of is like a Zcash Komodo hybrid. That seemed to have a lot of aspects. I was sharing some information with you about Secret Network because they have that silent swap that is going to be introduced soon. Dero is something that I've heard about again. Have you done any deep diving? Because I know you've done shows with Rafael Laverde from Crypto Vigilante and such, and you know Monero Talks and all that. What is your familiarity with Dero?
I don't have much familiarity with Dero. I'm looking into Pirate Chain right now. Again, my interest in this is you have to understand my lens is I'm looking for solutions to CBDCs and the great taking. So that's my primary lens, and related to that is kind of usability. And so I'm gonna continue to look. So one thing I also want to say on this is I'm not a maximalist of any coin. In fact, I don't even agree with the approach. I'm surprised that so many Liberty people even try to be maximalists.
I don't think very many liberty-minded people are, unless you just happen to be a Bitcoin maximalist who's a liberty-minded person. I don't think otherwise. I don't see a lot of freedom, because that's kind of a contradictory, because freedom is supposed to be freedom. And that should also include choice.
Yep.
You know, and if you're just promoting one thing, you're not really offering choice. So it's not really, it would be limited freedom.
So understand. So what I'm doing is I'm going around the country and I'm holding workshops. So my thesis is this: the way we stop CBDCs in this digital tyranny is we have to have a competitive system. We have to have better, easier to use wallets, and we have to have better point of sale systems. So everything that I'm doing is around how do we get to that point, because we're not competitive in the marketplace right now. And this has been one of the issues with privacy that with some of the privacy coins is it's like, oh, well, hey, I have this really complicated niche thing, but it's really secure. And that's going to be difficult, because if you have no one to trade with, then how useful is it, right? So at the end of the day, we actually need privacy and we need simplicity. And so where I've been moving to with this, and there's nothing more eye-opening than trying to onboard 100 boomers at one time to cryptocurrency and to show them how to live on it. And so the standard for me is, okay, I realized explaining what I'm doing is not a scalable solution. So then I kind of put out this, I'll either buy or build a multi-asset wallet and a multi-asset point of sale system so that we can actually compete. And so I ended up with Cake Wallet is the wallet that I use right now, and because it has a focus. It really started out with an emphasis on Monero, and they're adding Zano. So I look at it as, if I'm trying to get somebody new, somebody that's 60 years old, that's never used crypto before, being able to offer them privacy solutions that are easy to use is critical. So that's actually a big screen for me. So if you can't get the privacy coin anywhere, or it's hard to use, it's kind of disqualified.
Yeah, but that's kind of most privacy coins. That's the thing. I mean, it is now. I do see like Zano, that did surprise me. Like, but they have been around, like you said, since 2019. So they've had a lot of time to be building this up. But most of these things, they're not as easy to use as even something like just Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, any of those cryptocurrencies, Chainlink, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to use. There's not much difference in that aspect. I mean, it's actually a little bit easier to do something like that sometimes than it is to use some of these privacy-based coins, especially when they first come out. Some of these things, like it really just looks like a ledger. It just like, it don't even, like, how do I even have possession of my coins? All I have is a private key, but I have no way of accessing them. Really, it's like a weird database thing.
Right. So understand, because people will get angry at me. People get angry at me because I talk about Zano, and it's just, the reason I'm talking about Zano is I'm like, it's CBDCs and the great taking, and it's tokenization. There isn't anything out there that like this solves this. Actually, this coin does resonate with me on a fundamental level because it is solving what I think is an urgent problem in a very important way. And most people in crypto, I think tokenization is unnecessary, or they only think about it as NFTs or meme coins. And once you understand that they're centrally tokenizing all of our assets, tokenization is absolutely going to happen one way or another. Now it's down to, are we going to have private versions where we have self-custody of our tokenized assets, or are we going to actually lose control over everything? That's actually the decision point, but people don't know that, which is why that's a huge part of the articles that I write, what I talk about, what's in my workshop, doing these interviews, because once that does set in, once you understand that everything is going to be tokenized and traded, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're now actually behind. We're like at the bottom of the ninth inning, and we're actually losing, and we need to come up with a solution. And so to me, Zano is the best shot that we have for tokenized assets as an alternative at this point.
Real quick, I want to plug your website so people can check it. They want to check out your articles, your book, your workshops, and we'll talk more about it at the end of the video. Daylightfreedom.org, and it's linked down below in the video description. The only pushback I want to give to you with the Zano tokenization thing is, now I agree, we are entering a world of everything being tokenized. The revolution will be tokenized, like the first conversation that we had. I agree with that. You see that being introduced by entities like BlackRock, real world assets being mentioned, what NFTs can represent in a sort of tokenization form as well, because you can have deeds, registrations, licenses. They could be in the form of an NFT. They don't have to be in the form of a token necessarily. Technically, an NFT is a token because it's a non-fungible token.
Yep.
But yeah, what was I getting at with that? I kind of lost my train of thought with let's say we get to this future where everything is becoming tokenized, and you have in advance tokenized all of your assets on Zano. What is to say that it doesn't, like, how does it protect you from the legal entities not recognize your tokenized assets on Zano and say you have to comply, citizen? You have to tokenize your assets on our uni ledger, on the ledger that we control. We don't recognize your private ledger. That's you're playing make believe, Ron. So how do you get around that?
Well, this is the only way what you just described is the default situation. So unless we build and start trading outside of the system, we have no alternative. That is the default. This is why I'm expressing urgency in doing this. And this is why I think it's important that you have privacy tokens so that they actually can't see what you're trading. I mean, it's a more profound technology than I'm probably expressing, because now, yeah, once you get into things like land, but I mean, even talking about being able to trade, that's even a whole separate issue.
Well, in a sense, if people thought that Bitcoin was anonymous, like early Bitcoiners thought Bitcoin was anonymous, and they found out that it wasn't, it was pseudo-anonymous. And I've heard this being said by a lot of people who are in the privacy space, is the only real true cryptocurrencies are privacy coins.
Yes.
Because because even in the word cryptocurrency, it deals with encryption. It's not just a layer of encryption to not have the blockchain itself be hacked or attacked or anything to that effect. It's even more than that.
Well, to me, very simply, transparent blockchains are not fungible, and therefore that makes it not money, right? I mean, if you can actually selectively flag one coin as being different from another, then now you've lost fungibility, and that's a critical element of money. So yeah, I actually think at this point, privacy is fundamental to having alternative currencies. And I think we're going to come to the realization that also applies with tokenization. Now, there's a whole other conversation we could have, and I'm like, I have a long queue of things that I'm going to write. I actually, one of the things I've been saying to people is, America 1.0 is over. We need to develop America 2.0 from first principles. And we actually need to go back like the founders did and debate these first principles. And then I realized, well, I'm not really wedded to necessarily salvaging America. I like this idea of the emergence of the network state. And so maybe what we need to have is just kind of an open debate around first principles that different network states can use to kind of take that thinking and apply it in their own unique adaptations as they're creating their own network states. I'm bringing this up only because even when I think about something like I wouldn't start a company in the United States again, but I would start a company in a network state. I would consider having like my denizenship in Josian or whatever, form a corporation in Josian and create my own equity and my own stocks using Zano privacy tokens. And then, there will be whole new stock markets basically created, a whole new different way of dealing with equities. So I don't want to give them the false impression that I think that Wall Street's going to adopt Zano for the tokenization of equities, or that existing incumbent players. I view Zano as how we rebuild a new decentralized world that's free and based on privacy as a fundamental right. That's kind of even the worldview, so that there's no mistaking. I'm not sitting here saying the New York Stock Exchange is going to adopt Zano. And I say that only because I think people thought that was going to happen with Ravencoin. That's not what I think is going to happen with Zano. I think what's going to happen with Zano is we're going to create a completely different type of equity market structure. And that's what's possible with this technology.
One of Ravenscoin's biggest problem was cutting out the middleman. For wanting Wall Street to adopt something, cutting out the middleman is definitely not the way to get their attention, because that's usually how a lot of people in Wall Street make their money, is being that bridge, that middle individual, that cryptocurrency is supposed to be able to get us away from. And one thing else I wanted to add, because I periodically go back and look at the Rumble chats. Bitcoin Cash TV is a big supporter of the channel. Had mentioned that Cash Fusion is not built into the Bitcoin.com wallet. It is built into the Stack wallet, and it's coming soon to Zapit. And it's Electron HSS Electron has it on desktop, is what he said.
Okay. All right.
So that's good. That's good information. Now, I would like to continue having a conversation about privacy coins, and maybe invite some other people to join us so we can bring some more perspectives, talk about some of these other projects a little bit more in depth, kind of get into Pirate Chain, maybe get into Dero. Something else I wouldn't be against doing if you'd be open to it, because I did talk with you about doing some contributions to the channel. We could potentially do some interviews together with some of these projects to learn more about them. And some of these projects don't have people that work for the project. Like Pirate Chain doesn't have somebody from Pirate Chain. It's more. I
would be happy to do it. So because again, and I don't want to. I know people are probably pissed off. It's like, oh, he's talking about Zano. Why isn't he talking about this? And I'll get that from time to time. I do want to investigate and explore all these things. So I'm 100% open to doing that.
And the reason I bring this up, and I brought like Dero up, and Dero, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, is I think you can do very similar things as to what Zano is doing. I think you can do tokens. It's got private smart contracts and things to that effect. The way that it was kind of explained to me, and I'm not sure if this is a great example, is just basically like the Ethereum network, but private.
Yep.
So that kind of sounds like what Zano is in a sense, the Ethereum network, but private.
Well, yes and no. So one of the things that, and again,
I'm just simplifying it. I don't mean like a copycat and just private. I just mean the similarity of smart contracts, a Web3 type system where you could build decentralized applications, and you can also tokenize an NFT, and you're not just limited to just what's on the chain like Bitcoin in a sense. I know that there's other things developed on Bitcoin, but I'm just giving an example.
Right. The key to all of this, though, which is why I like Ravencoin as well, is we're not going to get adoption if it isn't simple and cheap and fast. And so the minute you get into creating smart contracts, you've now put this into a whole different realm of cost and complexity. So that's actually one of the again, I'm looking at this from the standpoint of I will be in the next 12 months in front of thousands of people onboarding people to crypto. And these are mostly people that have never used crypto before. And the thing that we have to understand is 95% of Americans have never used crypto to buy anything in their entire lives. The ones that have that last month, it was 0.4%. So
Yeah, it's a lot of speculation.
So the entirety of the market is open for us. But when you sit in front of a group of people, if it isn't simple, I mean, this is, Apple was successful because they made things simple, right? So that is the key to what I'm looking for. So I'm happy to explore and look at all of these things, just so long as people understand that what I'm trying to do is come up with solutions that are easy to use, that can ultimately be for mass adoption as alternatives to CBDCs and the great taking, so that there's no misunderstanding. Because I'm sure a lot of these projects have a lot of very rich functionality, but it may not fit with what I'm trying to do. But it doesn't mean they're not great projects. And so I'm even going to lay that out on my site when I say why I'm recommending or including things that I'm onboarding people to, what the reasoning is.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And I think a lot of those projects that we mentioned, for the most part, are going to be at Monerotopia. I think somebody from Darrow, somebody from Pirate Chain. I'm pretty sure a lot of these representatives, DarkFi, which is something that I mentioned to you. We talked about privately with my interview with Amir Taki. He's trying to do basically something very similar of private-based Ethereum, because he's talking about using different technologies for smart contracts, using ZKs and stuff that just way above, just goes away. I mean, I understand some technical stuff, but I don't even want to begin to understand some of it, because it's too much information in my head that I'm not necessarily going to use. But I do want to dive into talking to some of these projects a lot more. And I think it's good for us to explore more videos talking about privacy coins. And if you're cool with it, I'd like to turn the conversation over to some of the other currencies, the other alternative currencies, like the precious metals. Most people know about gold, silver, copper. This is copper. This is like an ounce of copper right here. Very inexpensive. You can almost think of this, if you want to compare stuff to like our currency today. This is kind of like having maybe dollars, maybe quarters. You can also, I mean, in addition to like 1 ounce silvers and bars, you can also get fractionalized silver. This is a roll of 10th ounce silvers. So I think the whole thing makes up an ounce, if I'm not mistaken.
Where do you get the copper?
This was actually gifted to me by a mutual friend, Satoshi Sean, but you can actually buy copper from most precious metal sites. I don't have any deals with anybody. I used to work with Money Metals Exchange. They're very reputable, and you can buy. They sell a lot of like copper pennies as well, with like different designs, kind of like you'll see with some of these different coins. Then you have like, these are pre-19, I forget the years, like pre-1963, I believe, these dimes. So these are like, I think I had to go back and look at the percentage, but they've got a lot of silver. It's not 100% silver. And so you have small versions of things. Something that I like to show off, and I did get these from Money Metals, but you could buy these at other places as well. These are really cool. I'd actually like to have a whole set of them and build something with it. But these are Legos that are made out of, like, each one is an ounce of silver.
That's cool.
So let me take one of these bad boys out. It's like a metal, like literally like a metal Lego block. So you can like take them and stack them on top of each other, build something, because they connect up on the little things here. So it's pretty neat. So you can always have fractionalized things. And I think, yeah, a lot of people don't talk about copper, but copper is very inexpensive if we're thinking about like bartering items. Let me pull up something here on moneymetals.com so we can look at some pricing, because they have a really good little price thing up top here of the website. So gold is sitting at $2,527.80. Silver sitting at $28.62. Copper is at $4.11. So you can let's see here, specials, other copper rounds. So yeah, copper rounds, bars, pennies. We have We the People pennies, Standing Liberty, Morgan Head, Indian Head. You can buy gold backs from here as well, just so people are aware. Because I've promoted the gold backs here. And if you go to the gold back website, you'll see that the Money Metals is one of their partners. where was it? Content. There was something I gave a description of these really well. Their website, Goldback. Now, Goldbacks, I think, are really cool. I do really think they're cool. The thing I told you as a drawback to these things is the fact that they are just beyond beautiful. Like,
Yep.
they need to make them ugly so people don't want to keep them. Because if you keep it as a piece of art, it ends up being like, you just like, this is too, like, I just want to hang it up on my wall and show people these things actually have gold inside of them. I'm going to pull up. I have 3 different size ones right here. And each one is bigger than the other because each one has more gold. So you'll notice that between these 3 bills, the one with the 1 on it is the smallest. The one with the 5 is bigger than the 1. And the one with the 5 is smaller than the one with the 10. The 10 is bigger because it has the gold in this strip. I believe it's this strip right here. So you could actually melt these things down. But again, look how beautiful these are.
Yeah, no, they are. That is true. That is a common issue. On the other hand,
you
is
can't
great.
fold them. You can't fold them. I've seen the wallets and stuff, but it just looks very cumbersome in that aspect too.
Yep.
That's my only complaint is like, why would I want to like get rid of these beautiful pieces of art? The ones that I have Nevada and Utah. And yeah, the company that makes them also make another one as well. So if you go to the Goldback's website, goldback.com, you can click on, I think it's down below here, like how they're made. By Goldback's business registration. Yeah, see how they're made. And it will take you to a website for Valerum. And this is the company that does these orums.
Yep.
So they actually have their own. I didn't realize that they also made their own. So they have these different collections.
They make all kinds of different collections.
And again, look at these things.
Countries.
These are beautiful. I mean, look, these things are immaculate with the different animals, the bears, the tiger or cougar or whatever it is, a wolf, these birds and plants, these fish. I mean, it's just like, these are way too beautiful to, like, why would you make, if you want people to use this as a currency, why would you make them look like something that somebody doesn't want to get rid of? Again, that's my only complaint. Make them ugly.
Again, I think the future for this is tokenizing these things so that you can use them easily in a tokenized form, and then when you want to redeem them for physical versions, which you can do directly through Alpine. They have a vault in Utah. Utah was the first state to make gold and silver legal tender, and you know, compared to other states, it's the least likely to be confiscated. I guess I'll put it that way. And so I have an online account through Alpine where I can buy digital version. I can't even call them tokenized because it's a centralized, database where I can buy Goldbacks and silver and gold, and I can actually use them online without having the physical Goldback. I can use them online with merchants. There are like 2,000 merchants across the US now that accept Goldbacks, or I can actually transfer the Goldbacks, gold or silver, to a debit card and then actually spend the Visa debit card. It takes about 24 hours to load. So that's,
you just got to deal with a third party with that. That's an unfortunate thing. And make sure, I mean, that's just, that's the thing about the commodity backed tokens and things like that, is just having to trust another individual for having the backing of what you're supposed to have. That's when you got to get into human error. I like the idea of don't trust, verify, and it's kind of hard in those aspects. And I've seen a lot of people try to do it a lot of different ways, even to the point of like having cameras in a vault.
Yep.
24/7 with the serial numbers of the bars showing, so that people can see what relates back on a supply chain blockchain that relates back to a blockchain of tokenization of the SID.
Is that Anthem? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anthem. I don't think he's doing the project anymore, but he was using the Hercules blockchain. I think is what they called it for the supply chain stuff with Anthem Gold. I had a lot of respect for what his parents did because his parents were part of the movement back in the mid 70s to help bring back legalization of gold. Because I think it might have been 1974. I might be off on my date, but it was illegal for U.S. citizens to own gold between 1933 and I believe 1974. 1933 is when the Gold Confiscation Act took place, where you had to sell your gold back to the United States government, and then they revalued it at a higher price once they confiscated all the silver, or excuse me, all the gold.
Yeah.
And you couldn't own gold except for like jewelry and small amounts and things to that effect up until the mid 70s, when a group of precious metal freedom people pushed for legislation that allowed for citizens to be able to own gold again. Crazy, man. A lot of people don't even realize that.
Yep. No, they don't.
That's my only hang up is that.
Yeah.
But
No, that is the issue. And so there's different tokenization models. The idea of having a decentralized network of people of private vaults, and there are a bunch of different ways that we can try this out. I mean, one of the things that I liked is the idea of building a point of sale system where a merchant could accept multiple forms of payment. You could take Monero, you could take Zano, you could take whatever, and then have it exchanged to a gold token. And then that gold token would be on like a touch by pay card. You could go to a gold back ATM, which they now have, and then redeem it for physical metal. So now imagine being able to bridge, tokenization.
Gold back has ATMs now?
There are gold back ATMs. They're not widespread yet, but the first ones I believe were in Las Vegas. They've also, I know they did one at Sawgrass Mills Mall in Florida.
You can deposit and withdraw gold backs themselves.
My understanding is you can put in cash and take out gold backs. I don't know that you can put in gold backs and take out cash as the initial design. And I actually know they also built it so that you can use crypto, but they haven't launched that because of all of the money transmitter and regulatory issues around that. But they actually already have the technical capability to do that. So I mean, you could go in with your Monero and then redeem physical gold backs. And so to me, that is, again, we need a solution to CBDCs, and the ability to combine crypto and
physical
items in a way that's easy. That to me is the home run. And if we can make that happen, I think that we have a real shot at making a huge impact here for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of I talked back in the day about trying to empower Native Americans by tokenizing some of their commodity assets they have on their reservations. Like there's some that have like a lot of coal, and the coal is actually supposed to be sacred and not utilized. But it seems like since it is a commodity and it does have value, you could essentially, I could go and buy a rice factory and have a rice token and back it up by rice powered.
Yep, there you go.
I mean, I definitely see the tokenization aspect. Like I see like basically what we think of when we go to like a Walmart or any store that offers a gift card is basically a token. It's like Chuck E. Cheese. You'll have Chuck E. Cheese tokens for everything individually. And then I think there will be a way for you to exchange all of those things in some capacity. So you can take all your extra Chuck E. Cheese tokens and exchange it maybe for a couple Walmart tokens so that you can spend your Walmart tokens at Walmart since they don't accept your Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
Well, I mean, and that's the point behind this. If you have a decentralized exchange like with Zano, where people can actually, you can take all of these tokenized assets and trade them. I mean, you can essentially create a very interesting barter system that is private and confidential. So this is why and one of the things that I'm going to do over a long period of time, because I did this to a certain degree with Ravencoin, is go through and explain on a asset class by asset class basis how it currently works, how there's already a centralized database, because most people don't really think about that wherever you're doing commerce, there's usually a centralized database involved. The next stage of that is tokenization, because centralized databases have all kinds of issues and security problems and hackability and so on and so forth. So you're going to get tokens. And so there's a whole universe of opportunity for creating new businesses based on tokenization. And so it really opens up a lot of possibilities, but it's so immense that I'm going to actually go through segment by segment and explain how you can apply the technology so that people can start to understand what you can do with it.
I was trying to look at some information on Komodo, because Komodo in the past, they had a something for like developers or people to build, and you could basically build your own wallets and dexes using Komodo. And Komodo was one of the first chains to implement atomic swaps, which would be a peer-to-peer cross-chain swap. I think we need to have options with peer-to-peer swapping as well, kind of like with those atomic swaps in addition to dexes, because it would be easier to have more of a market like that where than it would be, I think, to have a decentralized exchange, because it seems a little bit more simplistic. But something else that I would like to explore in future shows and just privately is when you're talking about simplifying this process and having wallets, it doesn't have to be one. It could be a conjunction of wallets working together that have APIs that connect in, or whatever the situation might be. There is a company that I'm friends with a couple of people that work with it, and been around, knew about it since its beginning. It's called FIO, which is Foundation for Interoperability for Cryptocurrency Wallets.
Okay.
And it's kind of like you can have almost a username and then apply different crypto addresses and things like that. But you can, as long as the wallets are part of the FIO system, then you can use that simplified username to send amongst all the different wallets that are part of this thing. So they're trying to make this thing more of a universal thing. And there's a couple name domain services in a sense, but it's more than just a name domain service, but it's something to explore. Now, I love the goldbacks. We've talked about the goldbacks, and I should try to figure out, maybe contacting those guys about maybe seeing if they want to do another potential interview. I told you I did an interview that was audio with, I believe it was the founder. I forget his name offhand. I'm not going to dig through, but you're just as big of a proponent with silver. Do you give silver away at your workshops as well, in addition to privacy-based crypto and a goldback?
I usually do. I'm not this time. I'm working with Citizens for Sound Money, which is an organization that is trying to help states make gold and silver legal tender. And they were supplying the silver, and they ran out. So I will be in the future, but I have a sourcing issue for the immediate.
That was cool. I was just curious, but you're just as big of a fan.
But just as big of a fan. Yeah, no, we were giving people
incorporate copper.
Yeah, no, I will. That's why I was intrigued by it. That hadn't actually occurred to me for whatever reason. And so, yeah, no, I will look into that. And I want to give people, and again, part of this is for me, I want to work with multiple people. At the end of the day, the wallet and the point of sale system has to work with multiple assets. And so I'm not looking to find, singular solutions. I'm looking at finding ways to make it easy for the end user, but that actually gives the biggest amount of total buying power for the merchant. So I'm still early. Like, what I'm using now is what I've stumbled into living on these things, and just as it's, just through my own research. But it's an ongoing process. And I even say that my book is outdated. In fact, I'm not going to say if you buy the book, understand that there's going to be an update probably by the end of this week. And the section on crypto is completely out of date. Completely.
Yeah, usually it's out of date within like a month or two of writing something. So by the time you put it out, it's usually out of date.
Yeah, no, so it's already out of date. And I don't expect that to change. I expect 90 days from now, I don't expect what I'm doing now to be this. In fact, I hope it's not the same, because I know that it's still cumbersome. There are too many steps. And that's how I know, right? When we get to the point where we can onboard 200 people seamlessly with no issues that have never had experience with these alternative assets before, that's when we have arrived. And I will tell you, we're not there yet. Each workshop that I do gets a little bit better and a little bit better, but we're not there yet. We've got a lot of work to do. So I look forward to investigating other projects and talking to other vendors and looking at alternative currencies. Right now, I'm recommending, a couple of privacy coins, Cake Wallet, some services like the Spritz Finance. There's another aspect to this too, which is that ultimately, it's kind of like I have the Tyranny index right? So we already have a CBDC. It's at this level of tyranny, and it's going to go up on this sliding scale to where it's complete tyranny, and there's no cryptocurrency, and cash is banned, and you have one global digital currency. Well, at the same time, on our approach for having alternatives, we're kind of at a minimal adoption. A lot of times you're using crypto to buy gift cards and to buy debit cards. You're still kind of hooked into the system, and that's part of the process. So there's another index of, what's the freedom index? What's the alternative asset freedom index? And I'm going to create that as well so that we can show the different steps along the way. How close are we? Are we making improvements towards freedom, and how is that doing relative to how they're doing on the tyranny index? And so we can actually kind of visualize what's going on here.
Since you mentioned Joel Valenzuela a couple times, well, you only mentioned him once, but you mentioned Spritz, which made me think about him. I encourage people to check out this interview, and maybe we can do a conversation with him together, unbanked and living on crypto, because he is like literally, and not necessarily using gold or silver, gold backs or anything like that, has been living using cryptocurrency since I believe 2015, 2016, something like that.
No, he's been doing it for 4 years longer than I have, and I learned about Spritz from him. So yeah, no, he's great. I'd love to have another chat with. In fact, I'm supposed to meet with him soon. The travel's not allowed it, but yeah, no, he's great. He's an OG, and is working. Dash is one of the ones that I recommend as well. I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, there are still times where, if I'm swapping something out or I'm using Spritz Finance, I'm switching to Dash. This is one of the important points of this. I mean, I've used whatever has worked since 2019. And it's important to know that what worked in 2019 isn't what worked in 2020. And that's not what worked in 2021. You have to adapt. But I think what we need are simplified tools for the end user, so that the end user doesn't have to go through this like gamification of life that I have to go through in order to figure out how to pay bills on a weekly basis.
No, Spritz, I believe, is KYC. I mean, if you're sending a cryptocurrency to Spritz to pay for your bills or whatever the case might be, Spritz Finance, which again, we talk about it in that episode with Joel, you've identified yourself. And if you're sending from an address to there, they either know it's you sending to yourself or someone else sending to you, and then they can go and track that even further. So it's just giving more breadcrumbs. That's why, like, MetaMask just recently, it's only in Europe, but they're offering a partnership. I think with Visa, it could be MasterCard, but a crypto credit card with your MetaMask wallet so that you could spend your crypto. But again, it's completely, it's all going to be like a database for the IRS, just like I think Kraken has been, attacked, but sequestered by the IRS to give up information on their customers, which part of the KYC AML, I think, requires that. Yep. Coinbase has done the same thing. So we know that that's going to happen. Using stuff like gold and silver, precious metals, gold backs, private cryptos is kind of like taking money out of the bank. You can go to the ATM. They know you withdrew money. But what you do with that money, they don't know. Unless they put microchips in it, like we talked about last episode, or they're getting ready to microchip the cash so that they can track and trace it and such. But the other thing I wanted to bring up that I thought was really ironic, and I've thought about this several times, it just kind of gets out of my mind until conversations like this. If I'm not mistaken, gold and silver are constitutional money.
They are constitutional money, and
with that being said, isn't the Constitution supposed to be superior to state constitutions? All state constitutions are supposed to comply to the main constitution. Like their stuff can't go against the main constitution. Each state, if we go back to state rights, so it's just curious to me why you have to get legislation to make gold and silver legal tender when I believe it's already technically legal tender constitutionally, which I think is the highest form of law in our country. It's just ironic to me. I'm not asking you what the answers are. I'm just bringing up the fact that I think it's special needs short bus.
Well, it is short bus, and some of it. And by the way, one of the things that I say is it's great that they're working on this legislation, but that shouldn't stop people from adopting these things. That's my personal opinion. It's like I'm going to use gold anyway. But what it turns out the issues are different states have different treatment of it with respect to sales tax and how it works with capital gains tax at the state level, and does impact how useful it is as a currency. So for instance, in California, I did a workshop in California. So every time I go to a different state, I actually need to look up what the laws are and what the consequences of this stuff are. And I can't remember what it is. You have to pay a sales tax in California unless you buy $2,000 or more of gold or silver. And so the different states are doing different things to, I don't think any state is you're restricted from using it. The question is, what are the tax implications?
Well, who's accepting it? Because you can't go to Walmart and pay for your groceries with silver ounces.
No, you can't. I mean, the best I can do is move that to a Visa debit card and use that at Walmart. I mean, which is not quite the same. Which is why, why I'm saying the privacy tokenization of precious metals is a huge thing, and the ability to use something like a confidential layer, where it's like you said. So if I have Bitcoin, or Ethereum, and I take it off of Coinbase, that's like taking money out of the ATM. They know I took X amount of Bitcoin or Ethereum out of Coinbase. But then when you run it through a bridge, or a confidential layer, whatever you want to call it, then you can spend it however you want. So yes, they know because you've been KYC'd, that's been tracked, and Coinbase has certainly worked. So all of that is known, but what you did with it is up to you. But again, there's a continuum. So the continuum on the CBDC front is complete digital tracking and programmability. And then we want to get to the point where it's completely private crypto that's being done person to person without any intermediaries. So that's the end. So those are the two poles of what we're dealing with. And then we're dealing with all the different layers. And we're not going to get to everybody using peer-to-peer privacy tokens directly right away. That's going to be a process, just as they're going to have a process to get to energy credit-based digital tyranny. So but that, at least we know what the stakes are and what the end goal looks like. And I'm just excited about the fact that we do have technologies that can offer this kind of freedom, that can offer an alternative, because, I'm not a big fan of technocracy and the complete loss of free will, which is essentially what they're trying to do.
Ultimately, on a final note, value is all based on perception anyways. We used to, back in the day, part of our species used to use things like this as a form of currency.
Yep.
Sand dollar. Puka shells. These used to be very valuable. So it doesn't matter what we end up utilizing or different things that we utilize, because it's just whatever. When we get to a situation where we're going to be bartering and trading amongst each other, it's whatever we give value to. And that's kind of what's happened with this world. Like I tell people, if you want to be, in my mind, technically, gold and silver has use case. Yeah, that's 100% right. But does that make an ounce of gold worth $2,500? Like, that is the perception part of it. Like the monetary value, the use is different. So I just found that to be something interesting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, value is subjective. I mean, that is absolutely the case, and that's difficult for people to understand. But it's,
so with that being said,
yeah,
we could literally take any of these technologies that are open source, and I'd like to use the term, and I used to say this a lot, but fork you. We can just take these technologies and fork it, and whatever we decide to give value to, we can. If they want to outlaw certain things, we use something else.
Yeah, I mean, and that's always the case. This is why, a lot of the Bitcoin maxis like to say that, what is it, the Lindy effect or whatever. It's just, well, if something's been used for a long time, then it's going to be harder to kind of dislodge it or get rid of it. But we live in a high tech age where people switch all of the time. So the idea that Bitcoin is a store of value because of where it is right now, the store of value could change in a week. People could dump Bitcoin and move into something else literally in a week. There's not the switching costs are not that high. So we have flexibility, we have mobility, and this is why I say it is going to be ongoing. It's all about invention, and it's all about creating new things. That's why I like the privacy space, because people are creating new things. But yeah, we can always change our mind, at least for now. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, I do want to encourage people to make sure that if this is the first time you're seeing any of the conversations between me and Aaron, there's 2 previous conversations at the bottom of this video in the video description. I'll put it in the comments, a pinned comment after we're done. I have a link for the playlist with all the videos that we've done together, so you guys can check those out, which I encourage you to check out. I definitely want to explore, like I said, more about the privacy coins. I think it's good for us to maybe go in depth with some of these projects, talk about the pros and cons, and just offer up that many more choices. The other thing is, and I'm not sure exactly when, I would have to coordinate with you, and I'll message you in the next day or 2 about that, is doing a video trying to focus more on the great taking, because this kind of culminates a lot with some of the things we've been talking about in the first 3 shows we did together. We mentioned it briefly in the first show, but this is very important when it comes to this idea of you will own nothing and be happy, because a lot of people are like, well, how are they going to do that? Well, this book kind of explains how they've already done it. But it also gives a lot of hope in ways that we can undo it. And I want to kind of dig into some of the things that we had talked briefly about with like this different state legislation that has been done here in the United States that David Webb's been a part of, and what's going on to fight it and things to that effect. But again, just bringing more attention to what's actually happening. Again, I'm going to have links down below for all of Aaron's social media. So I definitely encourage you to make sure you're following him over on the X at Aaron R. Day. If you guys are watching over on Aaron's account, you can follow me at Rice TVX. You can see it right here on my name title. And I also will have a link for, oh, wrong place. Where's all the rest of this stuff? I don't know if I deleted it or moved it. I had your website pulled up. That is so weird. Oh, here it is. And here is your X account. I had the wrong thing pulled up. So Aaron R. Day's X account, the website, daylightfreedom.org, where you can buy his book, link to the book, check out the articles. You can also check out the different workshops that he's been doing, the Rumble channel for the Aaron Day Show, the YouTube channel for the Aaron Day Show, and a direct link for the Amazon book, The Final Countdown, if you guys want to purchase that. Do you have anything that you want to add to today's conversation before we wrap up?
I would just say,
talk about your upcoming workshops or anything.
I've got upcoming workshops. So yeah, go to daylightfreedom.org. We have that New Jersey is on October the 5th. That's going to be a great event. These are all going to be great events, but we have terrific people helping to organize these things. So October the 5th is New Jersey. November the 9th is going to be Omaha. And then I need to put the link up there. We have Nashville on December the 14th. I'm targeting to do one of these a month, one of my own workshops a month. If you see a city on there, or if you want to actually help organize one of these events and you're like, hey, I happen to know a venue or whatever, and I've got a group of people, then please fill out this form on the website. This is what allows us to track demand. This is entirely where we determine how we determine where we're going to go, is based on where the demand is. And then it's furthermore based on where the enthusiasm is. So somebody who pops in and says, hey, I did a podcast with somebody that had he had like a small audience or whatever. And he's like, hey, but I'm in Virginia and, I've got access to a VFW hall or whatever. It's like, okay, that's great. This is where it is. This is all passion and market driven. So, would welcome your participation. And then, but I'm only doing one a month because I'm also going to other events. So Moneratopia, I'm going to the BCH conference in Argentina. I'm going to be at Anarchapulco. I'm going to be at the Greater Reset also in Mexico. So there's a calendar, if you click on the Inform, that shows you kind of all of the events that we have scheduled. And because my goal is just to get as many people as possible introduced to not only the threat of CBDCs and the great taking, but the fact that there are alternatives that they can adopt today to deal with it. Oh yeah, you see Rage Against the War Machine. So I'm speaking in Washington, D.C.
Isn't that a big event going on?
Yeah, so that's a 2-day event. There's Rage Against the War Machine on Saturday, and then Sunday is like Restore the Republic or Take Back the Republic or whatever that is. And there's some overlap between the two. But if you're not going to show up for that, I'll give you my speech. My speech is, if you want to stop war, stop using the dollar.
This is the Libertarian Party doing this. Yeah, I think somebody I know, Tatiana Moroz, is part of this. She might be playing music there.
Yep, she's speaking.
Yeah, Tatiana. Okay, cool.
So
Josie and Clint. Josie has worked with Timcast. Clint works with Luke Radowski with We Are Change.
Yep.
Some of the other people I'm not super familiar with, but Rage Against the War Machine. It reminds me of my other channel, Rice Against the Grain.
Yep, I saw that.
I like the calendar. The calendar's good though.
Yeah, so it's filling up fast. But again, my mission. I don't think we have a lot of time here. When you look at the crackdowns, I mean, it's kind of like you said. All these different exchanges are getting rid of privacy coins. They're all being sued. There's not a real great outlook here, and so speed is important. The other thing I would add, since we're talking about privacy, is Naomi Brockwell basically just put out, a call to, put PRIV/ACC.
Yeah. What is that about? And what is the AC? And I totally should not have interrupted you. Finish what the PRIV/ACC, is that what it is?
Yeah. So it's basically a privacy accelerationism movement. So Naomi really focuses a lot on privacy in general. And so she kind of put out a call there for people to kind of, consider putting that in their bios and to really start putting an emphasis on privacy. I agree with that entirely. In fact, I added it to my bio. I'm going to be writing an article for her newsletter. And I think that's a great idea. I think we need to get people really involved with privacy. We need to flag this as a key issue. I mean, Snowden did at the Bitcoin convention as well. But it is really critical because whatever happens with the election, both sides are against privacy. Cynthia Loomis is against privacy. The legislation that you are going to see, whoever wins, is going to be more restrictive on privacy. So just know that up front. And so we need to kind of do everything that we can to put our best foot forward and get people to start focusing on this.
Could not agree more. That's why I enjoy doing these videos together, man. And I think it's really important for people to check out the previous conversations, because I think like the conversations build upon each other. So again, I will coordinate with you so that we can figure out something for a video talking about the great taking more specifically, and then dive into some of these privacy projects. That way we can kind of give people a little bit more comprehension, myself as well. I'd like to be able to understand these projects a little bit better. And it's kind of hard when you're putting out content and doing other things. So being able to do interviews or conversations with people that are more knowledgeable with me, that I trust, that can help to educate me and other people, I think is one of the most valuable things that we can do. So again, I'm going to have links down below for everything. I do appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in. Aaron, I'm going to grab something to eat, and I got some plans I got to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up today's stream. But thank you again for joining. I greatly appreciate it. And I would encourage you guys, make sure you take an opportunity to smash that like button if you have not already. We got lots of people watching over on the X side. Those reposts bring more eyes to shows like these, and it would be greatly appreciated. And as always, I encourage you to be a blessing to others, treat people how you want to be treated, be the glitch you want to see in this matrix, be the change you want to see in this world, question everything. Know yourself. And until next time, Ron.
Ron, where are you? Where is Ron right now? No Ron, huh? Well, you better be sick, dead, or mute, Ron.
Here. Oh, man.
Why didn't you answer me the first time I said it, huh?
Huh?
I'm just asking, I said it like 4 times. So why didn't you say it the first time I said Ron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
Son of a mother! You done messed up, Ron!
Rice TVX, the Mike's Live Wire, American Pitbull, real gold buyer, sound money advocate, rights defender. In the crypto arena, he's the top contender. From the gritty streets of the digital age, Rice lays wisdom, chapter and page. Silver, gold, he scores only the bold. Land, life, and liberty, these values hold. Constitution, deep dive, knowledge revival. Navigate the system, critical for survival. Rice engraved like inscriptions on metal. Pitbull in the game, lead foot on the pedal. Land acquirer, a strategic mind. In the fight for freedom, he's frontline. Educate on rights, the law he'll explain. Chris Rice the Pitbull, breaking the chain. I'm gonna go to you. In the the arena where truths collide. Rice TVX, the certified guide. Silver and gold, land and rights. American pit bull in the freedom fights. In a world of chaos, he's the calm in the storm. Teaching the masses, ready to inform. Keys to crypto, rights we cherish. His wisdom lights paths that others perish. Guardian of wealth, from digital to ancient. His legacy crafted, fearless and patient.
And then one more area that I hope nation states start paying greater attention to is the rise of cryptocurrency.
I got you, Edward Sosa. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Smash that like button. Going to be streaming again 8:40 p.m., 8:45 p.m. I'm going to be doing that tonight. Let me remove this thumbnail real quick. We got a few more people watching, so I'll let you guys know what's going on. Go and let you know what's up. 8:40 or 8:45, I'm going to be setting this up probably in the next hour or so. I'm going to be co-streaming with my brother from another mother, my GXA homie, Crypto Blood. We are going to be live streaming on our Rumble and our X accounts. We will have a dummy account set up for the YouTube side to promote the Rumble and X stream so that we can speak in an uncensored manner. I always like to throw up this little thumbnail here. We are live on our Rumble and X channels. And let me go ahead and get this thumbnail pulled up real quick so I can show you guys a little glimpse. We will obviously be covering the debate, the presidential debate for the selection 2024 between Donald J. Trump, DJT, and Kamala Harris, Kamala the Ugandan giant. This is the thumbnail. We will be going live on Rumble and X 9 p.m. Excuse me, 8:40 or 8:45, one of the two, but definitely by 8:45, we're going to be going live on Rumble and X. We'll have a dummy stream set up on YouTube, pushing people over to our Rumble and X channels so that we could cover the debate that is starting at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And as long as one of the two of my brothers from the Three Wise Men are not sick, tomorrow we will be going live on our YouTube channels, X account, my Rumble, for Three Wise Man Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, as long as people aren't sick with this manufactured disease that we got going on. So we'll see you tonight. Smash that like button and much love.